In 2013, Mitch Weiss decided to take a path any lesser man wouldn't dare travel. He now finds himself training to become the Midwest's most knowledgeable sports broadcaster. Focusing on Big Ten and Detroit sports teams, he decided to create a dwelling where his training would go undisturbed, a cave. More specifically, the man cave.
No girls allowed.
Mitch enlisted a team of highly sophisticated cavemen into his service to assist him in his tireless search for, well, sports stuff. When they're not sleeping, eating, or, oh yeah, they're analyzing sports as best a caveman can. You have now entered the man cave.
Danny Weiss is the youngest member of the Cavemen. Standing 6'4" and a fluffy 243 pounds, this Homo erectus enjoys hunting but will also gather from time to time. He has a striking resemblance to Man-Bear Pig and often laughs at his own jokes. At 5'11", 190 pounds, Milton Marcus Lafayette O'Quinn III has the daunting task of being the president and only member of the Joey Harrington fan club. When not watching sports, he enjoys candlelit baths while listening to his favorite album, Big Willie Style. Daniel D-Mac McDonald comes in at 6'1", 200 pounds and hails from the inner city of Bloomfield Hills. He enjoys enjoyable things, sleeps when he's tired, and hopes that one day Ryan Gosling will get a tattoo of Sparty on his chest.
Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mitch.
And this is the Man Cave.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Mitch's Man Cave. We're excited to be back after a 2-month break, and what a perfect time to start up again. The Tigers are about to start what will hopefully be a long playoff run after winning their third straight AL Central Division title. The NFL is a quarter of the way through their season. The Lions are off to a 3-1 start. The Big Ten is about to get into their portion of the schedule in college football, and the Wings are set to begin their first season in the Eastern Conference in the NHL. But before we get into the sports stuff, I have some good and bad news to announce. We'll start with the bad just to get it over with. Our all-star editing caveman Danny is no longer with us as he's taking his talents back to college at Allegheny College in Pennsylvania. We'll try to get some updates from him for Danny's Weight Watch to see how it's going, but he's living in a frat house, so I can't imagine that it's going to go too well, as D-Mac can probably allude to from his experience living in a frat house and his weight fluctuation.
Yeah, frat house in Pennsylvania. This kind of remind me of Jerry Sandusky, but we know Danny won't be hanging out with him anytime soon. Well, at least hopefully he won't.
But the good news is that my longtime friend, Jason Watson, will be joining us here on the Man Cave, and he has some big shoes to fill, literally and figuratively, but I think he's up to the task. So before we get any further, Jason, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you've been up to, and so on.
Oh, I'd love to. Well, what's up, everybody listening to the Man Cave? I'm Jason Watson. I've known these guys for a long time. Took a 7-year hiatus in Ann Arbor while I was studying film, which has done me a lot of good up until this point. But now I'm back in town. You know, I love talking about sports, whatever's going on. So I'm glad you guys brought me on, and I hope I can, fill in for Danny, and that's the goal here. We're going to see what I can do.
Well, thanks for coming on, and welcome to Mitch's Man Cave.
I'm glad to be a part of it.
So we've decided to change up the format of the show a little bit. We're going to record with little to no editing, hopefully no editing, which means things are going smoothly. But just to give it a little bit more of a live show feel, a little bit more personal. And yeah, so with that being said, let's catch up on each of our lives just a little bit. Start with myself, since I think August 9th was our last show. just finished up my second week at the Specs Howard School of Media Arts, where I'm enrolled in their broadcast media arts program, of which Jason is an alumnus.
Yeah, it's a good place.
But other than that, things are pretty much status quo. Still working a few jobs and doing Mitch's Man Cave. Milt, anything new in your world?
Just been working more. Working mornings instead of nights now, which is nice. Usually I'm used to working till 9 p.m., but now I'm done earlier in the day, so I have more time to, mess around, look at sports, and just do what I love to do.
Cool. D-Mac, you want to fill us in on anything going on with you?
Just trying to enjoy these last few months of nice weather we're going to have. A couple buddies and I are going to go up north, and we are going to go hunting up in Carlin, Michigan, which is just a little south of Interlaken. And then a few weeks ago, a few buddies and I went to the Upper Peninsula, did a bicycle tour, did about 180 miles in like 5 days. Went around to Grand Marais, Pictured Rocks, to Quamanon Falls, and a couple little cities you probably never heard of. Just made a little economic stimulus, one beer at a time for the local communities up there. So, yeah, just been enjoying it, and also still doing the radio show with Pops on WJR, Retirement Hero Radio. Good stuff. So tune in if you get a chance.
Good. I'm with you, man. I hope that we get a little bit more of this nice weather for a few more weeks. Jace, you just gave us your background, but do you want to add anything about what's going on with you, who you're working for, anything? Or?
Yeah. I'm working over at a couple radio stations. 101 The Riff, 94.7 WCSX, and then the new Detroit Sports 105.1, just doing promotions over there. So we're out at events, just hanging out. But like I said, I just moved down to Royal Oak, reconnecting with some old buds like you guys that I used to hang out with all the time, and just trying to see where my life's gonna go from here.
Hey, aren't we all?
Yeah.
Well, cool. I'm glad to be back down here, but let's get into the sports stuff. So the Tigers have won their third straight AL Central title, and I think this is the first time they've done that since the early 1900s. I believe it was like 1905 to 1909 or something like that, or 08. Anyways, they began their American League Division Series against the Oakland Athletics Friday, and Jim Leyland announced that Max Scherzer will start the first game of the series. And based on what he did this season, he definitely deserves to start. But part of me, and it's a small part, would feel more comfortable seeing JV out there just because he's done it before. You never know how a guy like Scherzer or anyone who's starting the first game of the playoffs for the first time is going to handle it. But based off of the season results, you obviously can't throw JV out there, as he probably wasn't even our second best pitcher. I'd have to say that Sanchez was number 2. But I'm cool with us Scherzer going out there and confident. Any of you guys have any issues with it, or are you all on board with the Scherzer nod?
I love it. I mean, the guy only lost 3 games all year, had more strikeouts than Verlander. I think he's a shoo-in for the Cy Young. I mean, everyone likes to say that whenever he pitches, we play great defense and we're, the Tigers.
And give him run support.
Yeah, run support and all that jazz. But I think the proof is in the pudding, and his arm's made out of pudding.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that. There you go. I think we can all agree that Game 1 might be the most important game of any series.
Right.
And to get off to a strong start, Scherzer's got to be the guy. I mean, yeah, he's never done it before, but if this, if there's a year, this is it. So, I mean, Scherzer will step up to the plate. He'll do well.
I think he earned it. You know what I mean? He definitely performed well enough during the regular season to earn the number 1 pitching spot in the playoffs. So I'm all for it. I mean, with everybody else, I'm a little nervous, but having JV as your second guy, really doesn't get much better than that.
Right.
So let's
That's
give
true.
Scherzer a chance. He earned it, and let's hope he wins.
And you've got to think that now that it's the playoffs, JV is going to step his game up and hopefully be the JV that we're all used to. But one thing I'm very nervous about, and it could end up being a big issue, is Miguel Cabrera's health. Because his play really curtailed at the end of the season as his nagging injuries caught up with him. And I really hope that it doesn't affect his play in the postseason, but it has me worried because he never really got much rest. I mean, I know he's had this last week to sit and rest up, but it seems like he has 3 different injuries that have been lingering the entire season. And if he can't play through those and be the Miguel Cabrera that we need him to be, I don't know where our offense is going to come from because we definitely struggled offensively during this last month when he's been nursing these injuries. But guys like Victor Martinez have stepped up. Fielder caught fire at the end of the season, so that's encouraging. And we get Peralta back playing left field, though, which will be interesting. It seems like Jim Leland at this point hasn't announced the official playoff roster, but I have to imagine that he's going to be on it because of his versatility and our just lack of offense coming from the left field position. So I bet to start he'll probably play a tune with Dirks out there in left field. Dirks playing against right-handed pitchers and Peralta against left-handers. But he could be a little spark in our offense. But none of those guys can make up for what Miguel Cabrera is to our team.
What do you think about flipping Miguel and V-Mart around? Having V-Mart clean up and having Miguel be the fifth hitter?
Well, I don't really think it matters about where they are in the batting order. It's about his health. I mean, if he's not 100%, or he doesn't have to be 100%, if he's not 80%, because who knows what he's feeling right now.
Yeah.
They keep all that stuff in the clubhouse.
Well, it's just something that worries me that, towards the end of the regular season, we had him in there starting, and he had a lot of long shots that are easy doubles.
Right.
Or there's a lot of times where you're gonna send the man around third, but Miggy's got to hold up because his leg's been hurting him.
Mm-hmm.
And if it comes down to playoffs, postseason, you need a double, you need this scoring run.
Right.
Bottom 9, is Miggy gonna be able to turn the corner, or is he gonna have to hold up like he's been doing at the end of the regular season?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And that's something that makes me nervous.
It's a really good point because in the playoffs, it's all about those hustle plays because pitching is at a premium, or runs are at a premium because the pitching, the pitchers really ramp it up in the playoffs. So for him to be able to turn those long singles into doubles could be huge for us. And I would hate for us to lose a game in a critical point because he wasn't able to get into scoring position. So that'll be something to look for. As far as the Athletics, this year they're a true Moneyball team, alluding to the movie where Brad Pitt plays the general manager, Billy Bean.
Billy Bean.
They have the 4th lowest team payroll in the MLB this year, so you can imagine they have a roster made up of mostly under-the-radar players, but they make it work in true Athletics form. They seem to play more of a National League style of game where they play small ball, steal bases, run a lot, sacrifice, get guys into scoring position, do all that. They took the Tigers to 5 games last year in the National League Division Series before, bowing out to us. And they'll be a challenge again this year as they actually won the season series against the Tigers this year 4-3. So it's not it's not going to be an easy series. You can't just pencil us in as the winner, even though we're probably the better team on paper. We all know that games aren't won on paper. But I want to get your guys' opinion on the series. How do you think the Tigers are going to fare in the series and in the postseason? Milt?
I'm a little nervous. I think it's going to go 5 games just like it did last year. We're kind of in a slump as far as hitting, and they're kind of hot. I mean, I believe they have at least 4 or 5 players who have hit 20 or more home runs. I don't think you can say the same thing for the Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
So it really comes down to the starting pitching. If the first 2 games our starting pitchers get beat up and we got to go to the bullpen early, I'm going to be real worried come game 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll get to that when it's my turn. But D-Mac, what do you think about the series and the postseason in general?
I'll skip ahead to the Red Sox. I think that's going to be the real test. I mean, if we can get past them.
So you're not even thinking about the Athletics.
No,
you're totally
no,
discounting them?
No, I am. We just talked about them for, 5 minutes? So
I just want to know your opinion, Tigers versus Athletics, coming from you.
Yeah, no, I think I don't think it'll go to 5. I'm not going to be tenacious and say we're going in 3, but it won't be 5. We'll get them.
Okay. But you think the Red Sox are going to be a big test?
Yeah, and they made a point since they haven't had 97 wins since 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Tigers had 93 wins, but who knows how many games they would have won had they finished as strong as we know they could have. But with injuries and just being conservative, I totally agree with Jim Leland. We did what we needed to do to win our division, so I'm happy about that.
Jay?
I think we got them. Now, I'm not nervous whatsoever. I think it'll be a breeze. and we'll be going after the Red Sox.
You saying 3 or?
I'm saying 3.
Wow.
Ooh.
I'm
What
saying
about the
3.
prospects
I like it.
for the postseason.
For the
as a whole?
postseason?
Yeah.
I mean, World Series or bust, man.
Yeah.
We
That has to be the mentality.
I think with the money we shelled out, the players we signed, and the way it's all been clicking, like it can't get more magical.
Right. This has got to be the year.
there's been multiple times where it should have been the year, you know,
Mhm.
where we should have it based on our roster.
Right.
But right now, like you're saying, this has got to be the year.
Right. Because last year we went to the World Series, and we didn't have Victor, and we didn't have Torrey Hunter. So those are two big additions this year that we didn't have last year.
And Scherzer wasn't Scherzer.
Right. Scherzer wasn't the Scherzer, but
And
Verlander
Sanchez
was
Sanchez
Verlander
wasn't
last year.
Sanchez either last
Right.
year.
So that's what I think is going to get us through to the World Series is our starting pitching. I don't think that any team that's in the postseason can match our 1 through 4 as far as starting pitchers. What worries me is, like Milt said, is if one of the pitchers does stumble and we have to get into our bullpen, we probably have the weakest bullpen of any team in the playoffs. So that is something to worry about. Our closer is fine, even though we stumbled a little bit down the stretch. He had no blown saves the entire season until I think 2 of the last 3 games he blew saves. And then also just Miguel's health. I mean, if he can't stay healthy for the entire postseason run, then, you know, we're kind of screwed. I mean, you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
But
I'm just hoping Peralta's bat, you know, will supplement his
Yeah.
bat a little bit.
But how much are you putting into a guy's bat who missed 50 games? You know, it's not like you can just step right back in and get used to big league pitching right away. There's got to be a little bit of an adjustment period, which is nice that he had the 3 games against the Marlins to get back in the swing of things a little bit. But that'll be something to look for.
Yeah, and I don't think he was just sitting back either, though, you know, during his 50-game suspension.
Oh, no.
I think he knew can still return, you know.
Right.
So he was. I'd like to say I hope he was, you know, taking batting practice and trying to get ready. And like they said, you know, he was practicing out in left field and getting ready to be an outfielder. So I hope he comes in. But that was a valid point with the bullpen. It's definitely a little sketchy.
Right.
But if the Tigers play how they should play with who we have, we should win the World Series.
Yeah, it's World Series or bust. I think that has to be the mantra. Well, let's move on. Let's go to the Lions. The Lions are 3-1.
Yeah,
To a
boys.
strong start. Could have been 4-0 if they didn't blow the game against Arizona in typical Lions fashion. But they're tied for first place in the NFC North a quarter of the way through the season.
Well, we got first place because of the tiebreaker, baby.
So
That's
we're,
right.
So we're sitting in first place.
Color can't handle that,
Nah.
let's be honest. Color is the weakest.
So I'm going to get to this in a little bit, whether or not the Lions are contenders. I want to get your guys' opinion. But first, I just want to go over what's kind of happened in these first 4 games. The offense is looking real good, looking potent with Reggie Bush looking like he did at USC, where he was probably making more money than he is now. But that's besides the point. Calvin already has 4 touchdown receptions, which is 1 less than he had all of last year. He had 5 last season.
Booyah.
The defense is looking solid. Their overall numbers are kind of middle of the pack, but they're first in third down defense in the NFL, which is a big stat for defense. And Sue and Fairley are looking like the best defensive tackle combo in the league.
I feel like every time I look up, I see a line defensive back with a ball in his hands.
Yeah.
It's been impressive.
I think our defensive tackle duo is the best in the league, and our safeties,
Safety duo.
if Delmas can stay healthy, Delmas and Quinn are awesome back there. They hawk down everything.
They do.
Delmas had one of the greatest games he's had as a Lion with
Yeah,
2 picks.
2
I don't know
picks.
if he's ever had 2 picks in a game.
That'd be amazing to see Slay come into his own. If he clicks, I mean, he's having a rough start.
Yeah.
But if he clicks, man, it's no telling what we could do.
I think it's only a matter of time for him because it's not like he's played all bad. He's had glimpses where he's made some good plays. I think that signing of Rasheed Mathis actually is paying dividends. I remember you and me, D-Mac, talked about it when he first signed. I was like, no, he's over the hill. Why is he a free agent this far into the offseason? But kind of eating my words because he's filled in admirably, and he can play outside cornerback, nickelback, and safety. So he's very versatile.
He used to be the closer. That's what Schwartz called him, the closer. He'd bring him in like second half or third quarter, if he felt like Slay was getting
Right.
shaky.
Yeah.
And then eventually he just made him the starter.
And from listening to Slay's interviews when the reporters are asking him about whether or not his confidence is shaken by, being benched in the second half, it seems like he's taking it all in stride. He's like, yeah, I'm the young guy. I'm learning as it goes. And Mathis has been in the league for, 10 years or whatever. And it's good that he's taking it as a learning opportunity.
As long as the Lions don't handle it like the Giants with Wilson, he'll be fine. But,
Right.
Like, I can't believe what Coughlin's been doing to that team.
Did you hear what was it? Justin Tuck said if anyone talks bad about Coughlin, he's gonna hit them in the jaw or something like that.
What?
Yeah, he it was reported on ESPN or something.
Someone's got to take the blame for that.
But anyways,
You
let's get to the Lions being contenders. I think the upcoming schedule is going to really determine whether or not the Lions are going to be in the playoff hunt because their next few games are going to be tough. First being this Sunday playing at Lambeau. We'll get to that in a minute. And then they go to Cleveland against the surprising Browns team led by former Sparty Brian Hoyer and Willis McGahee at running back. Everyone after they traded Trent Richardson and
How about Hoyer?
decided to start Hoyer. Everyone was like,
How about
they're
that Spartan?
they're tanking. They're going for the number one pick
No
next
way.
year, and now they're on a 2-game winning streak, and it's at Cleveland. So a road game is never easy, even though it's Cleveland. Then the Lions will host Cincy and Dallas before traveling to Chicago. So that's a big 5-game stretch.
That's a tall order.
So I think we'll know more about the team after these next 5 games. But I'm going to turn it over to you guys. I want to hear individually how you guys think the Lions are looking as far as playoffs and possibly winning the division. Milt? Before I get to Milt, I'm going to say Milt for last because I already know what Milt's going to say, Mr. Homer over there.
Ultimate Homer.
So,
over
D-Mac,
here.
I'm going to start with you.
Well, yeah, at the beginning of the season, based on last season, we had one of the harder schedules, but I'm taking a look at what's been going on. We're playing all the NFC North teams, and we're playing all the NFC East teams. Dallas, Philly, Washington, New York are all juggernauts, but what have they been doing this year? Nothing. I mean,
I think that division is going to be won by an 8-8 team possibly.
exactly. And then we're looking at, and then to make it even worse, we're looking at AFC North, Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincy, Pittsburgh. Everyone's thinking, oh, they're going to be amazing. I mean,
Right.
they're all 2-2, 0-4, just like the NFC.
But we play
East,
at
so-
Pittsburgh after Chicago, and I don't care how bad Pittsburgh is.
Yeah.
Playing at Heinz Field is never easy.
Yeah, but if you can't have above 500 with a healthy Palomalu on your defense, I don't know. I don't think our schedule is going to be as hard as we thought it'd be. And you got to also point out, is there a better quarterback WR1 RB1 combo out there right now that's better than the Lions?
No.
Bush, Calvin Johnson, Stafford. I mean, we're a passing team, and they're all kind of shaky. They've been injured. All of them have been in their career, but who hasn't? It's the NFL.
Mhm.
Everybody's playing questionable all day. So I'm happy with where we're at. I think we're gonna get better as long as good old I can't even think of our coach's name right now.
Schwartz.
That's awful. As long as Schwartz manages the game well, puts in Joik Bell when we need him, make sure we spread the ball out and sit Pettigrew, please. Put Scherzer.
He had 7 catches
Yeah.
on 7
Attempts.
Attempts.
He had
Okay.
no drops,
no drops, no
fumbles.
fumbles. So
Well, then
he had a
that
good
either
game.
has to keep happening, or because I don't know. I feel like every time we're in a close game or we need something big and we go to Pettigrew, it's just a letdown.
I was
But-
paying specific attention to him in the last game because I have Gronkowski on my fantasy team and he's obviously hurt, so I'm starting Pettigrew, and every time he caught the ball, he immediately
Goes down.
either went down, but even before that, he would put 2 arms around the ball. He wouldn't even try and get yards after catch. He's putting 2 arms around the ball and just going down, which is fine with me as long as he's making the catch and moving forward. That's good.
As long as he's holding on to the ball.
Right.
You can't have any more fumbles or drop passes out of Pettigrew.
But D-Mac, you don't think that these next 5 games are going to be kind of a test and we'll know where the Lions are after these next 5 games, or you think we're just going to breeze by it and it's just big name teams that aren't as good as they're perceived to be?
No, it's the NFL. Every game's going to be tough. We lost to Arizona, beat Chicago. I think that's point in case right there.
True.
But in terms of who I'm looking at, if we can beat them, absolutely. We play Chicago again in that week stretch.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think Vegas is gonna put the line on us. We're gonna be negative in all those matchups I'm seeing.
Not Green Bay.
We'll
We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. No, yeah, not that one. But Green Bay's defense right now is looking a little weak. The only thing they got going for them right now is the fact they're playing at home. But we're still coming to get them this year.
I saw the line yesterday, and it's as of yesterday it was -6.5, which surprised me. I thought it was going to be about 3.5.
Right.
Jay, what do you think about the Lions so far this season and what their prospects are for the rest of the season?
All right, well, I'm really excited with what they've done up to this point. As you mentioned earlier in the show, they should easily be 4-0 right now. The game in Arizona was like looking back at the old Lions, that's something they would do. You know, they would just lie down at the end of the game.
Let's not play the should game, though.
Right. But, you know, the schedule we got coming up right now, Green Bay is obviously an elite team. Whether or not they want to play like it all the time, they are. And playing at Lambeau is the Achilles heel of the Detroit Lions. So I'm a toss-up on that game. But, I mean, it's really a game of matchups in the NFL. When you go to Cleveland, who is turning their game around, with our run defense, I don't know what they're going to do, honestly, against the Lions.
Their whole game, though, is Brian Hoyer to Josh Gordon.
That's true, but as
James Cameron, my man.
And
Can't
Jordan
forget about him.
Jordan Cameron.
Yeah.
James Cameron,
Listen
the
to all these
Avatar
names,
man.
dude. We got
I'll
Brian
call him whatever
Hoyer
I
to
want.
Josh Gordon and Jordan Cameron. How are they winning games?
But, you know, like Joe Hayden out there at cornerback is going to give Calvin problems.
No.
But I'm just saying, if they double-team Calvin, you're opening up Pettigrew. You know, you're opening up Broyles. You're opening up Reggie in the slot.
You see who we just picked up
I was
today
just
off
gonna
waivers?
say,
Yeah,
Ogletree.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. So there's another option, you
Yeah.
know. So I think walking into Cleveland, I think we got an easy win there. But it's really just a game of matchups. Like when Cincy comes to town, if we put the D-line pressure on Andy Dalton that we've been putting on every other team, they're going to have a lot of trouble getting the ball out to A.J. Green and Sanu. And I just think if we play the matchups how we're supposed to play them, we could easily walk out of this only losing to Green Bay.
Okay.
And that's what I'm hoping for. You know, if we could be walking out 7-1, 7-2.
So Jason thinks we're losing to Green Bay.
I do.
As we've mentioned, the Lions are playing Green Bay next, and they're traveling to Lambeau, where we've lost 22 straight games. And I'm going to keep this simple, just a yes or no answer for you guys and myself, whether or not the Lions are going to break that streak this weekend at Lambeau Field. Milt, give me your yes or no.
Yes.
D-Mac?
Yes.
Jay?
No.
Can we Jay, you want to put
I'm going to say no,
a beer
too, so
on
we
it?
can do another 2-on-2 bet here like we've been doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
My
Are you
heart
confident?
tells me
Whoa.
yes, but we're going to Lambeau.
My
Wait.
heart is telling me no.
But my body.
We're going to Lambeau.
My
That's
heart's
what
telling me yeah.
I won't believe it until I see it.
So all right, we'll do a bet, but will you give us a spread? We don't need 6.5. We need 6 though.
No, we have to have a half point.
No, because you guys just both said yeah straight up.
I don't know.
That was-
I don't
Yeah,
know
but
if I'm
then
up
no,
for
but
this.
then I was going to bet Jay because he said no, and I said I need the line if we're gonna make a bet.
I'll give you 2.5.
Give me 3.5 at least. Give me a field goal.
I'll give you a field goal. I'll give you 3.
3.5.
But if it's
3.5.
no,
the
3.
line is 6.5.
Why don't
3.
you? Why don't you?
If it's a field goal game, then it's just the wash.
Why don't you just
Mitch,
give
this
me?
is your show. You're gonna put this on air, and you're gonna not give people either the spread or more than. I mean, come on.
Why don't you just tell me what you think they're gonna win by, and we can make that.
It doesn't matter. 3.5. It
All
matters.
right, we
what,
can do 3.5.
matters what the professionals in Vegas think, not
All right.
I.
We'll do 3.5. We'll give them 3.5 points.
All right.
It's 3.5 points, and this is the homer.
And this sucks. Now I gotta cheer against the Lions. What do we?
No, just know I'm rooting for the Lions still. If I lose, I
know.
lose.
It'll
but
be a good. It'll be a good bet to lose.
I have to, especially with Reggie Bush on my fantasy squad.
Right.
I have to root for the
All right,
Lions.
yeah. So we gotta. All right, we got to bet on it.
Just sometimes you got to be
We'll
realistic.
put a beer on it.
a beer, a
This
beer, and
is
a beer and a
wild.
shot.
All right.
Shot of whiskey and a nice 22-ounce beer.
That works.
Let me get my homer on here. I haven't spoken about my beloved Lions yet.
Yeah. Where are you, man?
I just want to say the reason the Lions are gonna win. They're gonna win
What are you gonna say here?
the
Just-
NFC.
why?
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Super Bowl.
No, they're gonna win the NFC because this is the first time I've seen a Lions team that is killing it in the trenches, and games are won in the trenches. Obviously, the D-line is amazing, one of the best in the league, but you got to look at the offensive line too. Keeping Matt clean, hardly sacked. Reggie Bush is averaging 5.7 yards between the tackles this year.
Yeah.
And that's in the top 4 best average out of anyone who's running in between the tackles. So this is the first year that I actually think the line is making holes for our running backs, and we just happen to have a guy who has some jets.
Yeah, and speaking of the line, I think Martin Mayhew finally hit on a diamond in the rough. Larry Warford, was he the third-round pick?
Yeah, third round.
He graded out, or so far is graded out as the 12th best guard in the whole entire NFL as a rookie, third-round pick. So that's encouraging.
Awesome.
So we need.
I love Joik in the back going like
Joik's
you,
the
like you
man.
said in the trenches. I think he's going to be the key to success in giving Bush blows, but I think people that start him in fantasy leagues are going to be a little disappointed, but he's going to do what we need him to do to get those W's.
And what's great about Joik is he's not only, like a change of pace back. He basically does what Reggie does, just without the explosive speed.
But he does.
But you
he's
still
got
have
the pinball stuff.
Yeah,
He
but
can break tackles.
But you
It's
can
a little different.
if you put Joik in, you don't have to change how you're running your offense.
Right.
You can still have him catching balls out of the
Oh
backfield.
yeah, he's a great receiver.
And Joik is unbelievable. I'm really glad he's backing him
I
up.
love how he came from Wayne State under the radar, Detroit grown, and just snagged him up. And we're like, all right, we'll give him a try. And sure enough, if we didn't sign Bush and it was him and LaShort and they didn't start Bell, I'd be real upset.
I think he totally earned that from LaShore too.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as Joik
He earned it
started,
last year.
Yeah, as soon as he started running, it was over.
I think the way that the Lions will win this weekend, if they do, it's going to be because Green Bay doesn't offer much of a rushing attack or a threat. And so what we can do is we can just turn Sue Fairley, Ansa, and the rest of the boys loose, just pin their ears back and have them just get after Rodgers and hopefully create some pressure so that it makes our defensive backs' jobs easier with Delmas and Quinn ball hawking back there. And then Green Bay's defense just isn't really scary this year, so I think Stafford's going to have his way. And I think if that happens, that will result in a win.
Yeah, I just think one important stat. Last year, the Lions 0-6 against the division. This year, they've already started 2-0. So if we can continue that way, I'm not saying it's going to be a win in Green Bay, but that's definitely a good sign in winning the division.
In the
From 0-6 to 2-0, let's just keep moving forward.
Just another stat to throw out there that I read yesterday. In the last 40 games, I don't know if any of you guys saw this article. Do you know what the Lions' record is in their last 40 games? Anybody?
40 games?
Yeah, just throw out a guess. I want to hear.
Take
Take a shot in the dark.
I think
15 and 25.
I was going to say, I think it's 18. Have they won 18 out of?
I'm going to go 20 and 20.
21 and 19 in
Oh.
the last 40 games.
Okay.
Not that means anything, but it's, it's
Well, it means a lot to me living 25 years with these guys. I haven't heard over 500 stat in the last 40 games my whole life, I don't think.
But as far as results and banners, it doesn't really mean much, but
No.
it is encouraging. But let's move on. We'll stick with football, but let's go over to college football. The Big Ten portion of the schedule is underway.
Yeah.
Last week, Ohio State defeated Wisconsin in a tight game. Did you guys watch that game?
Saw the first half.
It was a good game. It was Ohio State won, I think, 30-23 by a touchdown, and the difference in the game was a last-second Hail Mary in the first half that Braxton Miller threw. They had 2 attempts. The first one got Wisconsin's defensive back just had the ball in his arms and dropped it in true defensive back form with 2 seconds
That's
left.
why
So
he's
then,
out there.
Right, exactly. So then they threw another Hail Mary and they completed it for a touchdown, and that ended up being the difference in the game. But from watching that game, I think that those are the 2 best teams in the conference, but they're in the same division, so only one of them will represent that side in the Big Ten championship game, likely Ohio State, with them having the tiebreaker over Wisconsin now. Northwestern also looks like a very complete team, and they have a game this week against Ohio State at Evanston, and College Game Day is going to be for the first time since 1995. And Northwestern looks good. Pat Fitzgerald is building a nice program there. I know a lot of people around here and in the Big Ten don't like him because of his sideline antics and just his overall personality. But you got to give the guy credit, where it's due. He's building a program there, and they're looking like a really good team. I'm excited to watch that game this weekend. But let's go more locally. Let's get to Michigan and Michigan State and their chances in the Legends Division, which is, with Northwestern and Nebraska, those four seem to be the teams in it to represent that side in the Big Ten championship game. And obviously both teams have major flaws and happen to both be on the offensive side. Michigan State's issue seems to be more as the whole offensive side, whereas Michigan's is more just on a single player with Devin Garner just being an absolute turnover machine.
Yeah, he is.
So, they have to make some improvements there. Unfortunately for Michigan State, fortunately for me as a Michigan fan, but it's hard to see much improvement since it's just an overall team with, skill players and quarterback all being on the same page and stuff like that. D-Mac, you want to chime in here a little bit? I know that's your squad. I don't know if you feel me on that or not, but
yeah, I mean, I can't even. Our quarterback situation is just, it's laughable.
Yeah,
I'm a Sparty, but at the same time, it's like I was in a meeting with a client, and he went to U of M and I went to State, so we were just chuckling about that and just kind of ripping on each other's schools and but he just looked at me and he's just like, you guys, man, your coach has wasted the best defense in the nation for last year, and it's going to happen again this year.
Yep.
Dude can't get a quarterback. I mean, we tried all three. Damian Terry, I think D'Antonio's holding on the red shirt for him, so he doesn't want to play him. And
yeah, at this point, he's got to be redshirted. He would have already thrown him in there.
Right, because he had to get those reps against Youngstown and South Florida and all that good stuff. But I don't know. The Notre Dame game was a steal. I couldn't believe the calls we were getting. Against you. Yeah, against us.
It was a Big Ten officiating crew.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. The calls were, even the U of M fans were just I was talking to them, and they were just shaking their heads like, you can't do anything against that, because 2 of the pass interference calls were in the end zone. So, I mean, once you get one of those calls, it's over. You get a 1st and goal on the one.
Right.
Like, you can't do anything about that. I don't care if you're Alabama. Like, you're going to get scored on. So, we're doing real bad. Points for, rushing yards, passing yards. Points against, we're 10th. But we would do better, but we had our second string in against Youngstown State toward the end, even some third stringers, and just trying to feel them out, see what we could do with them. So, again, we're, last year, I think, what was it? We lost all our games. If you add them together, it was like 6 games we lost, and all of them, it was 13 points total.
See, this Michigan State is the perfect example for the argument I've always made against those that say defense wins championships. I've always said defense will keep you in every game, and every now and then will win you a game. But without a good offense, or even just an average offense that can score points when they need to, you're not going to win a championship.
Oh yeah, no, I mean that doesn't hold true when your offense is as bad as State's.
Right.
But if Connor can, honestly, like if we can score 20 points a game, we're going to win the majority of them, because our defense is going to do the rest. No one's going to score more than 17 points on us unless it's a bowl game. We're playing the SEC, then maybe, but
or Oregon or something.
Well, here's the thing:
or if your offense gives up points, pick sixes or fumbles or stuff like that.
Well, it's funny because Spartans I hear talking, they're like, "Yeah, man, we just need to get the ball and then punt it on first down, and then just put our defense back on the field. We're gonna score more points that way."
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but in true Spartan fashion, I'm not giving up hope. We're 0-0.
Right.
We're undefeated against Big Ten teams, and that's really at the end of the day what matters.
Right. And one thing you have going for you too is your schedule is probably one of the weaker ones, as you don't play Ohio State or Wisconsin, and you have Michigan at home. So the schedule is definitely favorable.
I agree with that, but if you look at our Michigan, Nebraska, Northwestern stretch, and
that's going to be the stretch that makes or break. And you go to Iowa this week, and I know Iowa is not a very good team, but playing in that stadium that's a tough stadium to play in. It's like it's like a house of doom.
It's always a good squad, but honestly, I think Northwestern. I mean, obviously Ohio State's Ohio State.
Right.
Michigan is tough to watch too. I mean, now that I've been 4 years out of school, I root for Michigan now, but they're just tough to watch. And I liked Gardner last year, but it's rough.
I remember in one of our shows, one of our last shows that we recorded before our break, you were riding the Devin Gardner train, as was everybody else. So let's move into Michigan now that we're talking about them a little bit. it's I think it's really going to come down to Devin Gardner and whether or not he can get a grip on his turnovers. I think what happened was after the Notre Dame win, he got all that national media attention. You have to remember, this is his first time going into a season as a starting quarterback since he was a quarterback in high school at Inkster.
Right.
I think he let a lot of it go to his head. He was seeing himself in the Heisman race after 2 weeks, and as a brand new starter. And you never know how players, especially college kids, are going to react to that kind of attention. So it's going to be up to him to limit the turnovers, and if he can, Michigan will definitely be a factor in the division. They got Jake Ryan coming back off injury either this week or next week, which will be a nice boost for the defense. The defense is playing well. Obviously not in the same league as Michigan State, but the Big Ten isn't a very defensive conference. I think that Michigan probably has the second best defense in the conference. Maybe Wisconsin. Wisconsin probably has number 2, but Ohio State doesn't play defense. Northwestern doesn't really play much defense. Nebraska has probably a worse defense than Michigan State does offense. So that whole side is just wide open. It's going to be excited. But if Devin Gardner keeps turning the ball over at his current rate, I think Michigan could lose 3 games in the conference. If he gets some control on the offense and doesn't turn the ball over, then they could run the table or have one loss or whatever. I mean, it's all going to be on his shoulders. It really is.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, because I've been hearing a lot of reports, that the offensive line isn't giving Fitz Toussaint enough room to run and things of that nature. But I think Fitz, coming off of his leg injury last year, is doing a very admirable job, at running back. And Devin needs to make better decisions is what I think. You can't be hesitant in the pocket. And a lot of his rushing yards, especially the last week, were off of broken plays. They weren't even designed runs.
That's how they should be. He's not a design running kind of quarterback, though. He's not Denard or anything like that.
It's only going to last for so long when you're going to be able to break 30 yards on a broken play, 25 yards on a broken play when it's 3rd and 7, or like 2nd and 15. You need that only lasts for so long, that magic, And I'd even call it like Tebow magic when he was in Denver. Like the last 5 minutes of the game can't be the time you got to do it. With Michigan, we're so elite, and especially with who we played. Besides Notre Dame, none of those games should have been that close.
No.
And that is what makes me nervous, that we should have been blowing teams out.
Right.
And we were playing from behind in those games.
Well, I want to say one thing to that point. And even though they weren't losses, the year that Michigan lost to Appalachian State, they ended up beating Tim Tebow and Urban Meyer in the Capital One Bowl that same year.
I do remember that.
So you never know how teams are going to improve. But what I will say is when Devin Gardner pulls that crap where he drops back, is indecisive, and does all those twisty-turnies back there, when he plays a Big Ten defense, like if he does that crap against Michigan State, he's going to get popped, and it's not going to go well for him.
No.
Because that's not going to fly against Big Ten defenses.
But I'm just excited to get into the Big Ten season.
Me too, man.
It's, nobody's really played anybody, and I'm even speaking to Ohio State with that.
Yeah, they played Wisconsin.
But up until that, they hadn't played anybody,
right.
And none of us have really played anybody, including Michigan State.
Right.
Notre Dame, sure, but Notre Dame is not what they were last year. I think they were hyped up a lot this year.
Yeah.
But now, Big Ten season is Big Ten season, and we'll see what happens, I'm a homer. I'm a Michigan fan. I'm a Michigan alum. So, yeah, we'll be in that playoff coming from me, 100%.
So. Did you guys hear this thing about the not NCAA? Some of the major universities are trying to break off from the NCAA and form their own league.
What?
Where
I have not heard that.
Each major conference would have a representative that would form a committee, and they would make the rules for their own league. It just came out last week.
Really?
Yeah, they're trying to break away from the NCAA because they're sick of them being the governing body. None of you guys read that?
No. That seems. I don't even know how that would work.
Yeah,
well.
it's in the early stages, but
so for each conference,
each major conference would have like a commissioner like they have now. Like Jim Delaney for the Big Ten would be the representative for the Big Ten. And the SEC would have one, the Big 12 would have one, the Pac-12 would have one, and they would form the governing.
That's for scheduling and all that.
Yeah, scheduling, playoff formats, all that stuff. It would all be.
I think it's more of who's the current president? Is it Emmert? Is that his name?
Yeah, Mark Emmert.
Yeah, he I watched him speak at the Detroit Economic Club meeting, and he's solid, man, but he looks like a no BS kind of guy, and his number one priority is school, which is cool. I mean, you go to college for a reason, but we're starting to hear guys on ESPN be really loud about players getting paid like that should be all right. And
Right.
I mean, people are like it's an odd time right now with school and sports trying to be not so much commingled as they are right now.
It is, man, because it's just because of all the big business. I think the sport generates so much money, and these athletes, even more so now than they were back in the day, are sick of seeing their. I remember watching the Fab Five documentary, and Chris Webber had a quote where he told, I think it was Mitch Albom, he said, "I'm walking around campus and I see every student wearing my jersey, and I don't see any of that money, and I don't even have enough money to go out and get a pizza."
Right.
And that's in the 90s. This is 20 years later, and business is even, and money in the sport is even bigger. And I would probably feel the same way, but it's tough because you give them thousands of dollars for free education. So it's that'll be something to look towards.
That's
in the next
just a
couple
mess
years.
waiting to happen. But I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
it's a bridge that needs to be crossed to a degree. I mean,
Yeah.
it needs to be. Yeah,
It needs to be settled
I mean-
because teams are cheating. They're finding loopholes. It's not really an even playing ground right now. They need to find one.
But I don't even think they know what they're debating about. Like, if you're talking about like pay for play, are you going to give somebody a contract for coming to your school? You know what I mean? Or like, so for example, Devin Gardner commits to Michigan. He has this much money over how much time he plays. Or is it going to be every athlete on the football team gets this much money? Or is it going to be, oh, you're a swimmer and a diver, you get this much money also? Or is it going to go just to the very plain fact that in Johnny Manziel's case, I'm Johnny Manziel, I have my name on this jersey, I'm selling this, I get a portion of the money that I make.
Right. Well, that's the big
And
thing
that's-
about
I don't-
what's going on.
I don't think they figured that out yet, how they're going to do it. Is it salary? Is it not? Is it based on performance? Because until you figure out, like, at the very base, how are we going to pay people, then it's ever going to work.
Well, that's how they have to figure out, because right now the revenue generated by the football team and the basketball teams, which obviously are the top two generating teams for the universities,
Right.
they spread that revenue across the athletic department. Some of it, not all of it, but to a degree they spread it around the entire athletic department to all the teams. Because obviously, I'm not bashing on these teams, but the volleyball teams and the soccer teams, they're not generating the same kind of money as the football and basketball
absolutely
teams are. And like you said, the same with the players. Like when Johnny Manziel is a big name and he's getting money for his autograph, what about the second string punter? Should he be getting the same amount of
Right.
money as Johnny Manziel? So
And-
that'll be something to look forward
And
to.
that's something I don't think they've discussed enough,
Right.
Because they're talking we shouldn't pay college athletes, but if
I think right
if,
now
I,
they're doing,
if I'm gonna make,
They're looking
if you're gonna
towards-
sell my jersey, they should get money for it.
yeah, I think
But
right
do
now
I
they're
think
looking for stipends.
right?
They're going to be, for every scholarship player, it's going to be a stipend. But that's why the college football wants to break off from the NCAA, because it would just be college football. It wouldn't be every single Big Ten team. It would just be college football.
I got to read that article. I'm interested
send it
now.
to you. I'll
yeah,
send it to you.
yeah, I want to
It
know
was
what that's
pretty
all
interesting.
about.
Let's get into our last topic, though.
Hold on, but Mitch, before we move
Yeah,
on,
go for it.
same subject. Did you hear about the book? It's coming out, I think, this year. The System,
Yeah, I want to read. I want to get that.
and
did
it,
read that article.
it just talks about exposes coaches like Tressel, Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban, like guys that have are allegedly, and players have come out and start talking more and more about what they've done, and it, just the shady. I mean, these big programs are big for a reason. Players, I actually have I work with a guy who is in Utah. His son's friend got brought into Alabama, and he was told, we're bringing in a couple quarterbacks. He got there were 10 freshman quarterbacks, and like you got to earn your spot. And I mean, how are they getting that many guys? They're obviously doing something. And Nick Saban is a genius.
Well, it's like Kentucky basketball.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, something's happening, and I mean, I'm excited for this book as well.
Yeah. All right, let's get on to the Red Wings. The season's about to start. It's their first season in the Eastern Conference. I'm pretty excited to be over there because some of the old original 6 traditional rivalries with Boston and New York and Toronto.
I think we have four of
coming
them.
back.
4 of them in our division,
Yeah,
right?
the only one we're losing, I think, is Chicago. But Jeremy Roenick picked us to win the Atlantic Division over Boston, which kind of surprised me. Not because I don't think we're good enough, but I think that Boston's got a tremendous team. I mean, they've been Stanley Cup contenders.
2 years.
Top Stanley Cup contenders for the last 2 years. So that's good. And for the outlook of the season, I mean, I like the talent we have. I like bringing in Stephen Weiss and Alfredson. I know we've touched on that in past shows.
I can't believe we're talking about Red Wings. I feel like we just were talking about them with the last
Like
show.
the off season, right?
Well, not even that. Just right after the Cup.
Right, that's true.
And now we're talking about it again. And
Oh, yeah, with our bet and everything. That was like the beginning of our show, and now it's
Yep.
now we're here, new season.
And you can add me.
Now
There
we
you
can
go.
add
What was
you.
that? What was that bet again? We had Blackhawks and then
You had Blackhawks and the
And the
Heat,
Heat.
and we had
San
Spurs and
Antonio.
who'd the Blackhawks beat?
Being an outsider, I remember
Boston.
seeing that posted on Facebook a couple times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Spurs
You
and
got that
Boston.
going on.
Yeah.
those are some good wings. Thank you, Mitch.
I'm just
You're
excited
welcome.
to see who our rivals are going to be. Like, who's it going to be?
It's going to be Toronto and Boston.
Pittsburgh.
You know, but
No, not Pittsburgh.
I'm-
Pittsburgh's in a different division.
I'm
in
just
the-
we
in the
you know we had
conference.
like the Colorado, you know, like the Avalanche, that hatred between us
Right.
and the Avalanche. I'm excited to see if something like that will fester up
I think it's going to
with
be
the Eastern Conference. Even like a Boston
I
would
think
be
it's going to
sweet.
be Boston and,
It'd be really
and
cool.
Toronto. Boston and Toronto, I can see as our main rivals, which is pretty cool. I'm excited for that.
No more 10:30 games.
I'm
excited
pumped
for
that
too.
I'm not going to see 3-game series like weekend extravaganza against the Blue Jackets, or,
Right.
You know, some other garbage teams that
Right.
were in our division last year.
So, Milt, I just want to get your opinion as the resident homer on the show. What do you think about the Red Wings this season?
It's Stanley Cup or bust, like it is every season.
Boom.
And
Got
This year, last year we weren't even supposed to be there. This year, you're supposed to be there. Okay, we got Alfredson and Weiss. I think they're gonna make tremendous growth in the team, and we're just gonna pop off this year. I think we're gonna run away. We're gonna win the President's Trophy, most wins in the league.
Oh, my God.
I think Pavel Datsyuk is gonna be up for MVP for the first time in his career.
The puck just dropped for the very first game of the season.
All right.
Some
42
bold predictions.
I'm
I
looking
love
for
it.
45
I love it.
goals out of Pavel Datsyuk this year. Things you have never even seen kids do.
45 goals out of Pavel.
Out of
I'm just
Pavel.
ready for my Sparty abdicator to just really solidify himself as an NHL superstar.
I'm gonna need 30 from him.
Hey, Big
You got it.
Ten hockey first season this upcoming season. That's pretty cool, too.
Oh yeah.
It's only
Yeah.
6 teams right now, but it's still cool that the Big Ten's making their own conference. But
mean,
let's
it's-
go.
it's big.
Let's go to the brewery, get some beers, watch the Wings first game, and enjoy the rest of our night.
Yes,
Yes,
For all
sir.
of you listeners out there, thanks for tuning in and welcoming us back into your lives. We appreciate it. And you may now exit Mitch's Man Cave.